Welcome to the Falls Podcast number 15. This week we are talking about being a dad, which was suggested to us by Kim Greenhouse a little while ago. And it's a subject we wanted to talk about. Parenting has come up a few times in previous episodes, so here we go. Who wants to start, boys? This is quite an interesting dynamic we've got in the room because two of us got kids.
Yeah. But I think that, as far as I know, that makes a good dynamic, I reckon.
Yeah. I've got some questions I've written down throughout the day that I've thought of.
Fire away if you want to.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Let's have a look if anything is a nice little icebreaker.
There's a lot.
Okay, there is one.
Okay, go.
Okay.
How did it feel, right? That moment where your significant other went, I am pregnant.
Yeah, that's a really good place to start.
It's a good question because you kind of start at the beginning, aren't you? Just trying to think now. I've got to cast my mind back now because it's like, hang on, doing the maths now. My maths, they're meant to be good. But it's like a good 6 years ago. So I'm thinking about that now. I'll tell you what, it was around about the time, it was after Enzo's wedding.
Oh, okay.
A little bit after that, wasn't it? About 6 years ago. And I remember it being like a really positive, happy thing because previous to that, we'd tried to have a child and had like an early miscarriage sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I remember telling Dave, I think like a long time ago now, obviously six years ago or whatever. And then we were fortunate enough for, say, I don't know, a few months after that early miscarriage to then, you know, she was pregnant again. And that obviously ended up being Cora. So it was a really positive thing. It was kind of like she was pregnant.
Happiness.
And we were like, oh my God, wow, amazing. And then I think you lose it and you realize when you lose something how much you actually sort of want it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was sort of.
So was it like were you after the terrible loss?
Yeah.
Obviously, was there? Did you keep trying? Did you think about it consciously?
Yeah. It was more of an active thing, I think, after the miscarriage. Because I think before it was kind of like a lot of people do. You're kind of like, oh, you know, we'll be happy if it happens. And we were quite breezy about it, I suppose. Yeah. And then when that kind of happened, I think it was like, oh, yeah, this is something that we do want after the loss.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, it was good, if you know what I mean. But we had no idea what we were in for.
No.
Don't worry, I got a few about that.
Yeah.
Well, similar to me as well, though. I was just really positive. Like, we weren't really trying or anything. And then I think I just came from work one day and she said she was pregnant and she showed me a thing. I thought she was joking. Honestly, I was just like,
yeah, whatever.
But then you're like,
put the kettle on.
Okay, this is actually serious, brilliant. And then it is just like elation. It's just one of those moments you'll always remember.
Yeah.
It's really, really, it's amazing.
Nice.
It's an amazing thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and then the whole going through the whole pregnancy with your partner. Obviously, the wife is going through everything. You're just kind of there supporting the whole time.
Along for the ride,
basically.
And in those classes that I can't remember the name of now, but you know, the
antenatal?
Kind of...
Prenatal.
Yeah.
Antenatal.
It was natal classes.
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah, and you kind of go to the classes and they give you like a little bit of it. You know what? Looking back on those classes, I was kind of like, these classes that you kind of like, whatever, I don't know. But yeah, it is good because they are trying to prepare you for something that you are definitely not prepared for.
Yeah.
No.
So I guess I understand the purpose of those classes. Kind of been through it twice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the same for Dave, I'm sure. You know?
Yeah, I did. Went to a few of them, and it just can't prepare you for that when it actually does happen. Yeah. You can read all the books in the world, you can get all the advice, you can get all of that, and as soon as that little baby arrives, mate, your world just goes from, it just flips.
Yeah. You can watch 5 seasons of One Born every minute, and you haven't got a clue.
I haven't got a Scooby.
I haven't seen one.
Are they good, actually? I only started watching them, I think, maybe while Nicola was pregnant, because I guess you're more involved in that world then. So I think we started watching it. They're quite good.
In a roundabout way, are you telling me that there's no point of me doing any research? Or
definitely there is a point. Like, I just think Dave has got a valid point.
Should I just wait?
By
the way, I'm not pregnant.
No,
I'm just waffling.
Could be pregnant in 2022. I don't know.
No, I think it's good to sort of get an idea, and I think you are like sitting down when you're listening to us, like, and, you know, you've seen me and Dukes going through it, that you have had a hell of an insight into it already, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
Way more than I did.
Yeah, I agree. For me, yeah, because
Way
I
more.
didn't really have anybody.
That's my plan all along. See, I wanted you guys to be the guinea pigs, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I've been taking notes for like the last 5 years.
It's true though. Even though we weren't young dads, I wouldn't say we were like young dads. If you think about how young you can be,
Mid to early
out of our
30s.
Yeah. close knit friendship group.
Yeah.
Dave was probably the first, right? It is in sort like not technically the first, but I mean the first where like it's a traditional setup maybe, or whatever you want to call it.
I think so.
You know?
Yeah, it was one of.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like you're with the mother of your child and everything.
Yes.
And all that. That's
No, it
what
was.
I'm
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. No, you are right. I think it was.
Yeah.
I think I was one of the first. So it was. Yeah. Shock to the system. I can't even like explain it. Someone explained it to me really well a little while ago, and it's like an alternate dimension. You've already got kids, but you haven't, basically, and you live parallel to each other.
Yeah.
But you've got no idea. Like, I can't remember now what it's like without kids. I really can't.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I really can't. And like, when you haven't got kids, you've absolutely got no idea what it's like to have kids either.
No,
So it's a crazy thing.
I spend time with children,
Yeah.
but like, I walk out the door,
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
That's the thing.
go
Yeah.
home, go to sleep.
No, it's the big thing where you sort of you can, like hand them back or whatever. Or if they're going through a tough time, obviously it's just down to you and your partner, isn't it? You know, to get on with like the teething, the sleepless nights, whatever issues you're going through at the moment with that child. And there's many because it's just natural things, and it's like, you know, getting them the jabs, then they're a little bit ill after that. Teething, problems with maybe milk after the breastfeeding or whatever. There's just like about a million different like issues that your child can have while they're
that all
younger.
sounds like really logical stuff that every child needs to have.
Oh
like,
yeah,
go
yeah.
through.
It's normal, or the vast majority.
So
is
I'll
really normal.
research. I'll
Yeah.
research a shit ton of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get that
Yeah.
all in my head.
No,
Sorted.
having more of a heads up.
ages,
Definitely.
things like that.
Great to have a heads up, but Dave is also right, as in, one of those weird things where, you can probably read all the books and watch everything, and you'll get like a better insight, but you just, you won't know what it's like.
Yeah, it's not going to happen for your specific situation, is it?
And every
No.
kid's different as well.
Yeah.
You know, every kid's
Massively.
got different needs and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
I always think about like the early stages as well, like after your partner's given birth, and like those 6 months to a year, those really early stages are bloody hard.
Yeah.
They are bloody hard. It's really,
Yeah.
really tough. There's no two ways about it. Unless you've got like a perfect kid who sleeps all night, I don't think they come around very often.
No, they don't.
But yeah, it's just a lack of, from a dad's perspective, I know the woman has been through a hell of a lot.
Oof.
But with me and Dukes, I think we're quite similar. It's like we're quite hands-on. And we have been from the start, and we've kind of helped each other, I think, through the whole process because they've been similar ages.
Yeah.
So we've kind of helped each other in via text in the middle of the night, or how did this go? How did this happen? And all those sort of
FaceTime
things.
while wiping.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because you're both sort of learning. You're learning on the job, basically. Like we said, you can read all the stuff, but nothing prepares you for it.
No.
But the sleepless nights was without a doubt the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Because
Trying to
going
function
to
the next day in work or
like going to different podcasts that we've talked about, you said that sleep, like depravity, is one of your worst aspects of like
it's hard.
maybe your mental health or just situations that you're dealing with and stuff. So I remember seeing you, I think it was on the prom or it was in town somewhere. I think because you were in between Aber and Cardiff at some point. And I was really worried about you. I was like, what the hell? I thought you were on heroin or something. I was like, you do not look right.
No.
And you just like, I haven't slept in like 6 months.
Well, it was just, you basically feel jet lagged the whole time, I think it is. And obviously, the wife was going through exactly the same thing. So you sort of split it up. And you take it in turns wherever you can, don't you? Well, I was trying to help out as much as I could, which same. I know Dukes was doing the same. Yeah. And I was quite proud, actually. I would go to like my mum and dad's when I really, really needed it. But there was never a time when I'd be like, oh, just take him. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be that dad.
It's crucial.
Exactly.
It's crucial for you and for him.
Yeah, to get that bond.
Your baby.
Yeah. Yeah, very, 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 very tough. I'm sure
Yeah.
you found the same, Duke. You?
Yeah, no, we did. There was like Nicola breastfed Cora, which is my eldest child, so my first child, for a little bit. I can't remember, maybe like 1 or 2 months, a shorter period of time than she did for Isla, which is my youngest child. So
Yeah.
I was able to sort of help a little bit more with Cora. And then what we would do, we would give each other like, say, 3 or 4 hour stints of sleep. So I watched loads of movies, and I had Cora downstairs in a Moses basket. So say Nicola would go to bed at like roughly 10 o'clock, and then we agreed on a time. I can't remember when that was, but say it was like 2 a.m. or whatever the time frame was. And I would look after Cora, and you know, for a lot of it, sometimes she slept, but sometimes she needed a nappy change, or she was crying, and she would milk, or whatever. And this is obviously after the 1 or 2 month mark after the breastfeeding, so I could really help. But with Isla, sort of was breastfed more than Cora, so it was harder to help. So you have to try and help in different ways. So you can't really help a great deal in the night time, because essentially they're co-sleeping, and this is another like can of worms, where like when we had Cora, they told us essentially not to co-sleep, which is essentially sleeping with your really young child, which I think weirdly is probably like the most natural thing on the planet, to sleep with
quite
a young
shocked. I mean, I'm a
baby.
complete novice to any of this. Like, that sounds weirdly wrong to me.
I think it's because you could smother them. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's because of cot death, and I'm not pretending to be
it's like
any
protection.
form. It's for a good reason, is what they're trying to do, and I'm not trying to pretend
It's not to
like
teach them independence or anything.
No, I think it's because the wife
no.
could be so tired, or the partner, whoever it might be so tired looking after that baby
There's a
overnight.
danger there.
Yeah, but I'm not going to put my doctor's hat on here, because I'm not qualified to talk about it. But they tell you not to co-sleep. But then when you talk to older people who like had children, they're quite experienced, and they're like, that's a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
So, and my mum co-slept with me and Laura, and
there we go.
breastfed us for like 2.5 years straight, because me and my sister were quite close. And like, I don't know, I'm not saying what the right or the wrong answer is, but anyway, Nicola, I think, co-slept with Isla because of the breastfeeding. Had to, literally was just attached like the whole time. And I'm waffling here, but basically what I'm saying is I could help a bit more with Cora, less with Isla, but I tried to help as much as I could in the days, because I couldn't help as much in the nights, if that makes sense.
So you just had to evolve constantly. You had to change things, like literally like
and you
that.
just got to do whatever you can to survive.
It's true. Fridge for the Red Bull.
It's a little bit different to drive to survive. It's a bit more like sleep to survive. Or like,
get that sleep whenever you. That's like.
We're similar actually with the second one. Cat breastfed for a lot longer. So that I found that quite hard, because I couldn't actually help as much as I needed to, or I wanted to.
But you are helping with the older sibling, because that's exactly what happened to us. It was very similar, wasn't it? So I'm sure you spent a lot of time with your eldest. I spent a lot of time with my eldest while the mums are doing
I guess that
thing,
would naturally, because it's really similar ages of
really similar.
Yeah.
A few months in between them, essentially.
Yeah, I guess that would happen, especially for the mother, because like one's out, another one's coming out, and then the other one comes out. This is a whole process restarts again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But there's also the older one you got to deal with.
Yeah, of course, he's still there, or she's still there.
Yeah, it's not like
you're right. Off to the side you go, and then you've got it's a juggling act, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think this is maybe a good time to talk about it. Dave mentioned like juggling act there. The only thing I've written down on my phone is sort of like being a dad, and it's quite varied talking about being a dad, but we can specifically talk about being a dad in 2022. So what is different from being a dad to say like my dad, or your dad, or your dad? And I thought about it a little bit today, and me and Dave have spoken about it.
That's a really good topic.
It has, honestly, it's changed a massive amount.
Dramatically.
I'm certainly not knocking my dad. I love you dads to bits, right? But my dad was like a typical 1980s dad in a way. He played golf. After the golf, he'd drink at like the clubhouse. If I try and remember most of it, he was a great dad, to be fair. But my mum did so much. Yeah, as in she was I don't know. It's awkward. The only other thing I've written on my phone as well is you could get away with a single income back in the day as well.
Yeah, that's different.
So
that's a good.
It's very, very different raising a child now to raising a child in the 80s, because my mum didn't work, or she had part-time jobs through me and my sister. But essentially, my dad's wage, which wasn't like some unbelievable job, it was just like a half-decent job my dad did, and that was covered enough, to have like a holiday every couple of years and have a normal life and stuff like that. Whereas now,
I didn't even think about any of that. I think the monetary aspect.
Me and Nicola both work, and I gotta admit, we wouldn't be able to have. We definitely don't have a plush life either, but we wouldn't be able to have the life we have now if we both didn't work.
Yeah.
Put it that way. So then I think it puts more pressure, weirdly, on both of you. Because even though it was incredibly hard for the mums back in the day, and I do think it must have been incredibly hard, they were just literally raising those kids, like essentially
themselves.
Like
the balance was quite off.
So it was kind of like breadwinner, dad, mum, doing absolutely everything.
Yeah.
But then now it's like a different pressure. It's like the dad has got to be like mega hands-on and earn the money and find the time to do all this stuff. I wouldn't change it for the world. I want to spend, just like Dave, I want to spend all the time with my children. But it's a huge balancing act. And obviously, I'm not just talking about it from the men's perspective, from the woman's perspective as well, because, a lot of mums are working as well. So they've got to work. They've got to try and look after these kids. Mm-hmm. So it's weird. It's just very different from the generation
previous. Is there anything the government or like the systems in place in this country could help with? Like,
we do.
Because I've heard horror stories about the amount of time you get off as a man.
That's
once
changed.
Once a baby's born,
you can share it now with a lot of jobs. Not all jobs, to be fair. In the small private sector where I had both of my kids, I had like a statutory 2 weeks. I think I had, and I think I might have added an annual leave holiday on the back end of that. So I essentially had 3 weeks. I was a little bit luckier with my youngest because of COVID. Yeah, from birth. Well, You could have it at a different time, but you would do it from birth to
that doesn't sound enough time at all to me.
No.
It's really not.
No, but you can share it now.
That would blip. That would just go by in a moment.
If you're in particularly like a public sector job or like a big company job, I think you can share it though. So like Nicola works for the government, and we didn't want to do it this way. I wanted Nicola to have the maximum amount of time. So I was happy to go back to work and make sure Nicola had the maximum amount of time with the children. But you can split it. I think we could have done 6 months and 6 months, but that would have been to do with Nicola's work.
Yeah.
Maybe weirdly paying me 6 months of her wages. I'm not pretending to understand how it works, but I know you can share the maternity pay.
Wow.
Yeah. There's definitely help out there, but sometimes it doesn't feel enough. But you get child tax. I don't know. But there's definitely help out there. You do get help from the government.
There is. However, if you both work, it's not much.
No.
Like me and Nicola, and I'm sure just like Dave and Kat, you don't get a lot. If you don't have a job, you obviously get a lot more.
Yeah.
Going back to that thing about the different style of dad back in the day or now, you're absolutely right. Like my dad was very similar. But he was like the breadwinner. Yeah. So he was working like a lot.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him, he never missed anything either. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine his juggling act because he must have been working his socks off, which I know he was because luckily for us, we never really went without anything, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But like he never missed like a sports day
No.
I'd always see him on the sideline for playing football I mean that. That's respectable in itself.
Oh, I remember my dad in his tie for sports day. He'd come down in like his lunch break or whatever, and it wasn't too dissimilar to all the other dads. You saw a lot of the dads in like their work wear, like ties or office wear, and they'd come down. So they were. I think they were just doing the best for their era.
Yeah,
that would help. That would help you guys out like massively. Seeing your dad there, as I did. Seeing my dad play football, all that sort of stuff. But like help like him as well. He'd be like, I managed to see that today. Like sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been a massive like. Boost. Yeah, exactly.
It's just things have
making the effort
evolved or changed or whatever you want to call it. It's a very different family dynamic now as opposed to say 80s, 90s.
It's an interesting choice as well because one of my bullet points here is about like the different type of dad you could be as well. You can be that breadwinner who's like a workaholic to just be the provider for your family, and then like your partner's at home and you've got all the cash you need, but then you only see your kids properly like maybe a couple of times a year when you take them on these like really plush holidays, for example.
Yeah.
Or you could take a step back and spend way more time with the kids, but not earn as much.
Yeah.
So there's different ways you can look at it.
It's juggling, isn't it?
It's all juggling.
Yeah. I think you've got to find your own balance that works for you, and the balance that works for me is not necessarily the balance that works for another dynamic of two parents. I know me and Dave are like pretty similar. I think we would sacrifice a bit of the money to spend more time with our children. I think
it's harsh though, isn't it? Because it's like brutal. You can't experiment with that really.
No,
you've got to work it out.
No,
right? Because you only get one chance for that per child, I guess.
Yeah,
it is weird.
Of course,
I heard this phrase, not phrase. It was like a video, probably on social media or something. And then it says like you've got quite a small window from your kids to be kids essentially. So they're saying it's from basically like 0 to around the 5 mark, 5, 6, and that is the window of having, I think he called it basically small children. As soon as they hit sort of like 6 and 7, they sort of obviously change and they grow up and things like that. And that is such an important period of the child's life.
Yeah,
you know, and I guess you want to try and be there for most of it or the lot of it, as you can. But then, like, I don't know, it is an awkward one. There's obviously people in other areas who've got a totally different life to me, and they might have to work on the road,
of course,
staying in hotels. They're doing their best. They're sending the money. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, you've got to find your own balance, isn't it? But I'm not knocking anybody who is killing themselves and trying to provide for their kids. Not at all. No, it's so juggling that, and you've got to find your fine-tuning your point, you know.
That's it.
Cause I remember when I was working in Cardiff and like doing like stupid hours, and then a guy from like the local council used to come onto the building site from building control. I used to walk around site with him, and because he worked for the local council, he had flexi time.
Oh.
And he was telling me about flexi time, and I was like, oh my god, that sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So luckily now, I've when I spoke to him, I was like, that's what I want. Because he said that when he grew up, his son was like his little mate, because he never missed anything.
Oh.
You know, and he's like really close to his mate, goes mountain biking. It's really similar to what you and your dad, actually. Goes like mountain biking with him, and he's like always with his kid, never missed anything, never missed sports day, Christmas concert, anything like that. I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. It was so far away from what I was doing at that time, because at the time I would have missed like breakfast time, bedtime.
Yeah.
I would have missed loads.
Yeah.
And since moving back to Aberystwyth, it's been the best move ever, because to bring kids up in a small town like this, so
very
good.
different. Yeah.
And it's just so easy. We've got the beach here. I know we don't have the weather, but that's the same everywhere in the UK.
Yeah,
but,
especially Wales.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, what a great place to bring kids up.
Yeah.
I've got to say it. I mean, we could do with a few soft plays here and there, but
and you've got like friends everywhere too, family
support,
very important. Like
and very lucky like that.
And you grew up here, so you know
exactly.
You know where not to hang out.
This is it. Yeah,
the back alleys are all that sort of stuff.
It is great. Like I think
the schools. You
understand. Sort of when you have kids, like say you watch movies or particularly things in America, they talk about moving out to the suburbs, don't they? And I think it's like that thing, isn't it, of like, not just in the UK, worldwide, there's like this thing, isn't it, about it's probably quite difficult to raise a few kids in the city, isn't it? It's certainly doable, but I think there's a reason why a lot of people move out to the burbs, is what they call it, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I was speaking to a guy today, and I was in soft play today, and he's just moved back from somewhere from wherever he was back to Aberystwyth, because he's had 2 kids, and you're like, did exactly the same thing. It's amazing how many people come back to their like hometown. It's just family sport.
Yeah.
And they know that they've had a good childhood here.
Yeah,
exactly. So they kind of know what to expect as well.
Or you're not in the car for 2 hours in traffic or whatever, with screaming kids in the back or whatever. I'm sure I haven't done it. I've been here for the whole time, whenever. But
yeah, I remember one of the worries before the first came along was, would I be a good dad? I was going to
ask that. Did you ever have like, my baby's, my due date is coming up now.
Yeah.
Fuck. Am I ready for this? Am I going to be good? What am I going to do?
Yeah. You know what? I didn't question that, but it's for no deep reason apart from I think I was just
tired,
chilled and naive about it, because I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? Dave obviously just probably thought about it deeper than I did, if you know what I mean. But I was just kind of like, yeah, cool, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then,
I'd love to think that moving forward, I would think like that as well. Like, I'd be a bit like, it's going to happen. Let's just deal with it when it does, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you find out when your kids...
Get ready for the flip.
There, isn't it, But yeah, I know this thing's about
totally get stressing about it and being, what kind of person am I going to be? What kind of dad am I going to be?
I don't think I was stressing as much, but I think it was just a case of, I didn't want to be a shit dad.
Yeah, which I fully understand.
I didn't want to be that guy.
The
guy who's never around, or
Yep.
I know that's not me anyway. But I just wanted. I was kind of putting pressure on myself. I think.
Yes,
That's probably what it sounds like.
I just think it's
really
probably
wanted to be
more-
a good dad.
Probably more to do with your character. It is in like, and what I mean by that is like, you might be a bit more of a worrier than me, and nothing to do with who you are. Because really, deep down, you know you were going to be a good dad, but you were just like overthinking it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean,
Well, I'm fucking as me sitting here now. I've known you for a very long number of years. I'm extremely proud of you both, and I got no leg to stand on. Really, I've got no kids. But just watching you with them, like even just tonight when we came in, like it's bedlam in here.
and Matt's having 2 kids. Isn't it?
It's incredible.
I think it's
absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I suppose like the positive points on it is like it is absolutely amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
I think the phrase you've used with me quite a few times, it's like it's the hardest job in the world, but the most amazing as well.
Yeah.
I think used that quite a few times, haven't you, with me? And it's like, I'm
hardest
taking
thing
that.
you'll ever do, but also the best thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So if you
awesome.
do decide to have children, and another thing that people don't often talk about is I also feel incredibly lucky to have kids as well. And that's a totally other thing, but a lot of people take things for granted, and I try not to do that, and I realize how lucky I am to have 2 kids.
I mean, it's hard to imagine, but it's you've gone through the lesson. You know, I can imagine it.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine the real truth of it, if that makes sense. I can't imagine what it's actually like.
Yeah. Yeah. Hardest thing
Unless you go there.
Best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Basically. And it'll like another aspect of it, it'll test it'll test your limits, right? But another thing it'll do is it will stretch your relationship with your partner to the max. And I'm not underestimating
daily shit can do that. Anyway, like money or
like
work,
talk to
whatever.
anybody who hasn't agreed with me in that. It will test your relationship to the full.
100%. I'll back him up on that one.
To the Pepsi Max,
I can totally get that.
And
yeah,
I'm happy to admit this. I mean, I really felt like I was the most patient person in the world before having kids. But that's kind of disappeared quite quickly now. We chuck in sleep deprivation, chuck in like the lack of patience, you're going to niggle with your partner. And people who say they don't believe it.
Yeah.
No, I really don't. It's tough at times as well. You know, it is really tough with your partner. But you work together to get through it. You help each other out.
I wrote
every day's different. Teamwork.
Really linked into this.
Good. Yep.
Was and this is to do with mental health now as well.
Yep.
So like, how did you stay? I'm not saying you stay calm all the time, but like, how did you not get to a breaking point? You know, where it was like
it's pretty hard.
Yeah, but how did you manage yourself? How did you take time for yourself to stay okay?
You just needed help. It's a very good question.
Dave, you go first if you want to. It's a good question.
Okay. Well, just support. I think you very lucky around here that we had the support.
Yeah.
You know, 2 sets of grandparents. So if we needed to, we knew they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been in tears in the middle of the night. Like, didn't know why. Like Maxim was crying, for example. That's the 10th time he was up that night. I was just in tears downstairs because I think Kat was working away for a little bit as well.
And you help us. What
I was just like, yeah. But everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the only dad in the world.
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing that happens. But say like the next day then, I was obviously like a zombie. So you call on your support network. Please, can you just come over for a couple of hours so I can get a couple of hours of Kip? Can you look after him? Whatever it is. So
recharge.
Support is probably my biggest answer to that, I would say.
Yeah.
Nice.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just the same thing essentially, but like teamwork with your partner. So I could kind of tell if Nick was like really, really like done in, and then I'd be like, why don't you just go up, you know, and try and get an hour or whatever. And if I had a little bit extra in me somehow, and I think that's just it. Like you got to do the graveyard shift sort of thing for each other. You know, you go and get 3 hours, and I'll do this, and like the teamwork. I can't really see how it. I can't really see how it works if you aren't doing the teamwork. But also, you talk about like shit dads in this podcast, and like hats off to the women who have a kid, and then they like, because it's one of those things where you don't know until you know as well. Like, say this guy seems amazing, and I'm like bashing the men a little bit here, but it does tend to be the guys. You can also get shit mums as well, but I've seen it more so the traditional way around, where the woman's maybe pulling a bit more weight and then the guy isn't the best.
It's easier for the dad to disappear down the pub or disappear down the football, whatever it
yeah,
might
whatever his vice is or whatever his reason is or whatever. And I just think like, that, she's essentially doing it on her own then, and I got like respect for those women doing that. And also like it's a bit shit of the guys to be doing that, and then also like how they can let their partner get that like depleted or like stressed or tired without going, oh, you know what, you look absolutely done in, let's help. I
Can I help you? Well, let's sort this out.
I'm never going to understand it because I'm not like that. I don't think I can understand it.
It seems to me it's not like a toy. It's not like a joke. It's the baby's here, the child is here. You've both got to be working at it together. Otherwise, it's gonna fucking snap or go higgledy-piggledy.
Yeah, teamwork is as in like it's teamwork, isn't it? And then that makes it better.
A good way, like what you were saying then, you've got to adapt.
Yeah.
Your life is not going to be the same as what it was before.
No.
It just isn't.
No.
So I think as soon as you accept that, then you'll be fine.
You can move forward.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to adapt because you've got a little baby in tow now. And
it's happened.
That little baby needs you.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And you got to like step up.
Yeah.
And be a dad or a mum or whatever.
Yeah.
I think back to some things that I've told my dad or like my dad's like knocked on my door in the morning and been like, what the hell did you do last night? you guys have got all that coming. It's incredible.
Oh, it is. I know.
My point is, like, your children will always need you. Like,
yes,
like that's it.
Yeah.
In some way or another.
And then hopefully they sort of at least start looking after you then a little bit. Yeah. I know that doesn't happen as much in the UK as it does, say, Mediterranean style parenting, when they sort of seem to really look after the family at the end of the generation. But I do try and look after my mum as much as she needs it or whatever, though I got kids and everything like that,
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, it's family, isn't it? You got to do your best, I think. But I don't know, there's so many different aspects to being a dad, isn't it? In the modern world, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, going back to quite early on as well, like we had quite a bit of a scare in the scan. I asked my wife if I could talk about this, and she was fine with it.
Okay.
But basically, when you go for your 12-week scan, that is like the first sign of just check the heartbeat.
It's the first milestone, isn't it?
First milestone, exactly.
That's the announcing stage usually. Isn't
it? Yeah, absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
So you check the size and all that, make sure everything's in line, and then because it's your first scan, you're so excited that you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. You hear the heartbeat, which is really fast, by the way.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like
I've heard a lot of them.
It's like a rabbit or something.
Yeah. It's like 150 beats a minute or something, where like the average adult is like 80.
Yeah.
So it's like double.
Yeah.
So checking it, heartbeat's there, cool. And then you don't really know what they're looking for either, because it's like your first time in the scan. And then she went quiet for a little while. And we're like, okay, she's going quite quiet. And then she said, I'm just going to go and check something. And what it was, they checked like the fluid on the back of the neck of the baby in the scan.
Okay.
And it was literally just over the margin that was acceptable.
Fluid being
I don't really know. Like, I mean, I'm no bloody doctor.
Or
I don't know, but it was at the back of the neck, basically. No. So we got to, after the scan, got taken. I'm going to cut this quite short, but got taken to a room next door, and they're basically saying like the different issues that child could have, right? So at that time, it was like 50% chance of Downs, 50% chance of Edwards syndrome, 50% chance of like quite severe heart defects as well.
Wow.
You're like, oh my God. You go from this like real big high to like, shit, this is actually quite serious. And they were sort of giving us leaflets about potentially getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, you're sort of like in this
big fast.
Yeah. So you go for this big high, and we walked out of there in absolute tears. We're like, no, we're sticking with it. We're going for it. Whatever happens. It's our little baby.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had to have more and more scans, and then luckily, touch wood, everything came fine. That's our eldest, Maxine.
Wow.
So it was it's scary.
Oh,
It's scary, and to have a newborn come out absolutely perfect little baby, it's a miracle. You know, when you see that moment when that baby comes out, mate, you cannot explain it.
No.
You just can't get your head around it.
No, you're gonna cry. That's all.
Yeah.
Any waterworks.
Oh
Good.
yeah.
Good.
It's an amazing thing.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. But no, I've spoken to Dave about that a couple of times, and it's just like, yeah, it's amazing. Thank goodness you.
Well, thank goodness everything's okay as well.
Like,
you know,
stuck to your guns and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really good. But yeah, a scare, nonetheless, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. I've got something else to say as well. I just remembered because when they go into contractions before giving birth, my wife, and it's such a weird thing because at one moment they are in absolute agony,
The worst agony ever.
right?
Yeah.
And in between the contractions, I'm having a normal conversation with her, like this.
Yeah.
It's
It's like getting tortured every like 15 minutes,
honestly,
and then being like,
it's like someone's just ramping this thing up, this button up, and then just taking it down again. And then obviously they get closer and closer and closer. That's when you got to go.
yeah.
So I can't remember the time frame, but I remember it was like a minute or two.
You're right.
I think.
There's like time frames in between the contractions, and then obviously they only check at the hospital. It's sort of like
How do you measure that?
Dilation as well.
You
So
time it.
yeah,
Metronome on, like,
Well,
that would be nice.
I think you're right though. The closer the contractions is it,
Yeah.
the closer it comes, and then they do sweep or whatever they do, and it's like how ready it is.
how ready it is in the oven, basically, and because
Cooking away.
we were in Cardiff at the time for
Yeah.
our firstborn, and it's a busy hospital, basically. So
Yeah,
they try and
it's just-
keep you out of hospital for as long as possible. And we'd gone through all the contractions like all night, did all the stuff. Like she was in the bath at like 3:00 in the morning, and I was timing the contractions. Like, oh no, just keep her there. It's like I got to 7:00 in the morning with her. We've been up all night with her. It was like you know, she was in agony. I was like, I can't see how much more pain she's going to be in. We're coming in.
Yeah.
Basically, when you get to 10 centimeters dilated,
Yeah.
you can start pushing.
You're ready to go. Essentially,
You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Got her in. They were all relaxed. Oh yeah, we'll have a look. Like the nurse was making herself a coffee and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. She seemed pretty relaxed. Yeah. And sat her down, did the checks. She was like 9 centimeters dilated. So like he was ready to go pretty much. And he was ready to fall out. And then he turned.
Whoa.
Mate, still there 6 hours later.
Complication.
Yeah.
Unforeseen
But it
as well.
happens.
Like one of those things. Just
Exactly.
got to evolve. You just
Yeah,
got-
so then you go to like panic mode and you're stressing. You see all the
What does that
nurses
mean?
looking at all the dials and things on the
Pie
the computer,
charts.
on the pie charts. Yeah.
It is stressful though, isn't it?
Oh my god.
I found it.
I
I found
can't
it really
imagine it.
stressful, actually. And I was saying that, like, not saying like feel sorry for me.
No, I know.
because the woman's going, but I don't mean in that way. But I did find it stressful.
Oh
Yeah, and then we had like an emergency C-section because of complications and everything, and like stressful.
yeah.
Yeah. The worry must be
Very
through the roof.
stressful.
I just couldn't imagine
Because
it.
you're worried about the two lives, aren't you? You're obviously worried about the partner you love and your unborn child that you obviously love, and it's like, quite something.
And they're in agony.
Yes.
Absolute agony. The worst. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just- yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's,
I've
it's
got-
quite something.
I've got so much respect for mums. Like,
I'll tell you what. If men were the ones giving birth, humanity would have died a long time ago. A long time ago.
It's true.
Who wouldn't have done it, mate?
No, would have got to like 1300s maybe max.
God, can you imagine if the world is like that? What would have happened?
But science and everything as well. To bring the science into it, I don't know the stats, but mothers giving birth hundreds of years ago must have been so dangerous.
And a lot of them would have died.
Oh,
Because even if you take just, say, the birth, for example, of your eldest and my eldest, there was complications. And
What would anyone have done?
Cora was like a big baby. And
Yeah.
was I can't remember exactly, it was a long time ago now, but yeah, similar thing, like
a
totally
bit.
in the wrong position.
Great.
And like locked in like the pelvic, I don't know, I can't remember what it was. But the doctor came in and was like, yeah,
We got to do this. We got to do this.
we've got to get that out now.
Yeah, imagine like a lady who's just, I don't know, she's in a certain situation of poverty maybe, and she's like I'm giving birth right now in
at
an
home.
alley.
On your own.
How would you know?
On your own, yeah.
I wouldn't know where to start.
So dangerous. I know it happens, and thankfully a lot of times it pans out, and you hear these weird stories of people just not knowing they're pregnant until they literally have a baby when they're young, because they don't have much of a bump.
Mate, honestly,
Happens all the time.
I know someone that happened to.
I know
someone I work with.
What?
Yeah.
Honestly, they didn't know that they were pregnant.
Someone from my work,
really
daughter,
sadly for her, she lost her mother in this year, the same year she got pregnant, because of all the she was dealing with her mother's death.
Oh my god!
She had no idea.
Oh, just the grievance.
And then all of a sudden she's like, "Huh? What's that?"
Yeah.
Went thing. There's a little baby.
You know what though?
Wow.
Going through it
No
twice,
clue.
it does blow my mind how you don't know though.
Yeah.
But it must happen because I've heard multiple stories about it happening. But like, it's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, that is.
She said
That's
she
absolutely
said she had
bonkers.
no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah.
right?
She put everything that she was feeling, her change in her attitude, her change in her weight, everything down to grief.
Yeah.
And she's just
Right.
like, "What the? I've got a baby now."
Oh my goodness.
You hear some
prep
crazy stories
whatsoever.
about
Oh, the baby's. I think
Kids
the baby's
and
3 now,
birth.
3 or 4.
yeah.
Awesome kid. I also seems like a really appropriate time,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I've been given a little clear in work today because
Okay.
she told her boss. So Dave Salter and Gina Salter, sorry,
Yeah.
past the 12 weeks, preggers.
Preggers.
Huge
Congrats, guys.
congratulations.
Yeah,
Amazing.
So it's happening.
That is-
It's happening.
It's great news.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Forget what we've just said. It's really easy.
Yeah. You know what?
Just watch this part first.
They actually slot right into your life, and you don't need
Nothing
to change your
changes,
life.
absolutely
fine.
at
Nothing
all.
changes.
They're just along for the ride.
Okay, so while it's nice and we're up. So what's your favorite? I guess there's multiple millions of favorite things, but like what's whilst you've been a father, what's been some of the things that you've absolutely enjoyed? Like that are just like that is amazing.
You know what? For me, I think it's the little things. It's the tiny things that might seem insignificant. Just like a hug, watching them sleep,
From that living,
holding their
breathing
hand.
thing, yeah.
Little things. The big things are amazing as well, like watching them in a performance or ballet or
Activities.
football
They come in.
or anything like that. But for me, it's just like the little things and knowing the bond that I've got with both of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm there and I'm trying to do my best as a dad and everything.
Amazing.
And just the little things, mate.
Nice.
Yeah. It's similar to me, actually. Like, say if you're just giving them a bath and you put them to bed and then hopefully they go to sleep fairly soon after that.
Slip down there. Hopefully they go to sleep.
It's not all easy. And then, they've gone to sleep. I always like to go back in like maybe half an hour later and you just sort of look at them.
Yeah.
You just tuck them in a little
Snoring
bit
away.
and you just look at them. It's like, oh my God. It is such a nice feeling.
Yeah.
You just can't. It's really hard to describe, but it is really nice. And like
You
now they're
can
getting a little.
describe it as much as you want. I'll never know
Yeah.
until
Of course, yeah.
maybe
exactly.
that one day comes.
And
yeah.
like now as well is like the conversations we can have. I like the little conversations. Now my youngest is getting a bit more chatty, and Maxine, to be fair to him, has always been quite chatty from like quite early on. You're just like sitting there, you're talking to this little person that you've
a
made.
little human being.
Yeah.
So strange.
It's like a mix of you and your partner.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, like 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit, in the cake, put a bit of that in, put a bit of that in, boom.
As close to a miracle as you're ever going to get, I think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, those two interacting with each other, you've probably got the same thing now. When they do play together, it's like we could just sort of sit in the kitchen, we could just hear them. Like we'll stop what we're doing, just listen.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's really nice.
Well, hopefully it doesn't go wrong at that point. Yeah.
Yeah,
It normally lasts for about
Squabbles.
3.5
That's the
minutes.
word.
for us.
Squabbling.
And then,
absolute
like,
tops.
Isla's screaming because Cora's stole a doll off her. So yeah, it lasts that little magical
little
3
window.
minutes, 2.5 minutes that you're like, serene that is. And then
Mate.
bang.
Do you know what that's like? It's like George Clooney in The Perfect Storm. It's that, there's the sun.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
is
then
that
she
okay?
bangs me back in.
It's funny actually because you say stuff like that. You're like, you got some days or some minutes, You think, I'm absolutely nailing this, parents, I think. I got this.
Sorted.
Absolutely all over it. Literally, 5 seconds later, all hell has broken loose. And your stress levels are through the roof.
How did that happen?
You're pulling your hair out, one eye's twitching, and you're going, what on earth? I'm going to jump out that window in a minute.
So hard.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it and things like that as well? If I'm going to turn it back on you a little bit.
I tell you what, like I've all through school, all through my life up until possibly like 3 years ago, I'm not anti it for any like weird reason apart from I just don't think I could do it at this moment of my life. And I've thought that every single year. I thought I can't sacrifice my life for this at this point. It's too much. I just no chance.
Yeah.
But I think you guys have helped my brain like change quite a lot. Like seeing and Berg, extended circle of friends as well. Like it's incredible, and you've done it and you're doing it, and it's really wonderful. It's amazing, and it's like I'm starting to edge towards building a little foundation this year and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't think I'm ready yet. My partner's definitely not ready yet, but like I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And that's quite. It's quite exciting.
Maybe there's nothing wrong with it as well. But like certain people, loads of people, you don't have to have a kid. Is in like me and Dave are like big advocates of people maybe having children, but like
it doesn't faze me to say I don't want a child. It doesn't. I don't feel weird.
You shouldn't feel weird.
You shouldn't.
Nobody should feel weird.
My elders give me some jips sometimes, and my grandma, the bloodline will end with you and stuff. All that sort of stuff. Like try bearing that on my shoulders, mate.
No, I'd never begrudge it. Everyone's different, isn't it?
I think you've got to. There's unexpected issues that can happen, unexpected pregnancies, etc. But like, I think in an ideal world, I'd be like, right, okay, next year, going to try and have a baby and work it out like that.
Awesome,
nice. That's good to hear,
lovely.
mate.
I'm going to try and do it that suits me and suits everybody around me.
Yeah, I reckon you'd be
especially the babies or whatever the hell's going to happen.
Do you know what's interesting though? Like where you're saying about your close friends, Dave and Gina, now that they're pregnant, that might. Because sometimes it happens.
Could have a knock on there.
It does. I don't know. It just takes one to get there.
The two girls, my partner and Gina, are very, very close. And I swear down, they said their periods were in sync and all that sort of stuff. I don't know what the hell that means, but that is
a thing. I think
they say that
it's definitely a thing. Apparently,
they're very close. And when we found out, man, like me and Rach cried. Like we were just like.
That's awesome.
That
so that's like
quality.
Roughly 12 weeks or something.
So I think she had her 12-week scan, just before Christmas.
Awesome.
Round about Christmas. I'm shit with dates.
Amazing.
But she told her boss today, and I think that's the green light.
I know what you mean.
So that's going to be great to look forward to.
Good. I got asked this a little while ago. It's like, do you treat your kids differently? Because I got a boy and a girl. And
the mix.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a mix because I'd say yes in a way. I'm probably a little bit harsher on Maxine because he's a boy, but certainly not in a pushy way, but more of like a man-to-man kind of conversation where my daughter is like my daughter. Does that make sense?
It's hard. It makes sense to me, but I've obviously got two girls, so I don't know what it's like to have a boy. But I've mentioned this to you before. Even though I don't know what it would be like, I imagine I would be slightly harder on the boy as well. Even though I haven't got a boy, I don't know. I've got two girls.
I totally understand that,
but I don't want to, because I am not a pushy parent. There's no way. I don't want to be that parent, but I don't disagree with parents who are like that either, because. I mean, you wouldn't have the likes of Lewis Hamilton's and
Tiger Woods
and all that without that particular parent.
There is something to behold in a parent, having the push for their child to have access to these things even.
Yeah.
And, take my dad, for example. I'm nowhere near a pro surfer or anything, but like I've enjoyed surfing for the majority of my life because of him. Like he absolutely put me into that. And
I think he probably wanted to share it with you as well, didn't he? He probably wanted to share the passion and love for surfing that he had.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But sorry, going back to what you were saying about being pushy. Sorry, I completely interrupted you then.
No, not at all.
Head back to that. Sorry.
No, I just think that with just having a little boy, I feel like I've stated the point really. It was just that, but I'm really conscious of it as well. That I'm not going to turn into that. That dad, because I don't want to be that dad at all, and I know I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
But I'm not knocking pushy parents either as well, because we wouldn't. It's tough.
Sometimes you get the best.
It can I'm not speaking from experience. Surely it backfires more than it works, though.
I agree. That was one of the points I wanted to make.
It's like a unicorn, isn't it? Again, a Tiger Woods. Pushing him that far and him doing that.
Yeah.
It seems natural to rebel against something that almost your boss in life is telling you to do. You know.
There's a really good documentary on Netflix. Can't remember what it's called now. It's about pushy parents and them trying to get them. It's American, so they're trying to get one of them into like
of course it's American.
The basketball, whatever the league is. I can't remember what the top league was over there. The ice hockey, the American football.
Was there a beauty pageant one? I think I've seen a pushy parent doing a beauty pageant as well. I think I've seen the same thing or a similar thing.
Those kids are so unhappy.
Yeah,
beauty pageants.
They are so unhappy, and you just feel sorry for them the whole time, because like it's like the parent is wanting to live their dream through their kid,
like a little conduit,
because they have failed. They want to. Not every scenario. Don't get me wrong, but
there is
a scenario.
I think a good example of that is it's a good and a bad example. The Jackson 5, right?
Yeah.
It's a bad example because of how popular they got. But it's a good example because I'm pretty sure they all hated the dad. So it's weird. It kind of worked because they all got like really famous and they were really talented and all that. But I'm pretty sure they all hated him.
And did they actually want that fame? Did they want to do that?
Who knows? Michael Jackson turned out pretty normal. Don't know.
Just gonna stay silent for a second there.
Just make it awkward.
Oh, Jack.
Do you know what I mean though?
Great music though.
Me.
Yeah.
And it must backfire way more than it works out. There must be loads of people who just end up kind of hating the parents for pushing them. They don't make it to be a professional football player, basketball player, gymnast, whatever it may be, and they just kind of hate it. I'm on the opposite end of space. I just I don't know. I'm too soft. I let my kids just kind of choose what they want to do. Really.
I really appreciated. I think there was a moment in my life where the grandparents in my life were being more pushy than my parents.
Okay.
And I could rebel against that rather than things my mum was telling me that I was good at and I should keep going at, or my dad was telling me the same. So I dropped things I really hated,
which you should be able to.
But I was good at them. I was good at the trumpet. Like for example, I was really good at the trumpet, and I hated it because I had to do it through an older generation of people. And I had to go and play with an older generation of people.
I remember you doing it.
There was no one my age really doing it. And it was just, I felt like a really odd one out. And so I was just like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Yeah. It's okay. Like,
I remember waiting.
You can come back to it. Like,
we were going to go and do basketball or go drinking or go to the fair. And I remember having to wait for you because you were playing the trumpet in like the bandstand. And I was kind of like, geez, Ed.
What?
Sheesh.
Sheesh kebabs, yeah. I mean, but as we've just talked about, like these elite professionals who get this gateway into, their parents are sometimes they're driving force all the time, It's I don't know what the answer is, but I appreciate a nurturing push, I think.
I agree.
From experience, from no, I've dropped that. I don't think you should, or whatever.
Or they've had one bad session.
But if you're just going, I never did it, you should do it. I think it's a bit weird.
As we're talking about this sort of subject as well, talking about, because like Dave mentioned it, saying like maybe it's through their own failures or they just want that for them for some reason. We were talking about maybe dads who are a little bit shit and stuff. Sometimes I feel like I hear stories about people where they have a kid or kids or whatever, and they don't really show too much interest in that kid until the kid is maybe old enough to do the things that the adult enjoys with them. So that could be anything. Let's just pick, I don't know, rugby, football, biking, surfing, whatever. and then they're not really that interested. And like, oh yeah, cool. He can come along with me to do what I enjoy.
Yeah, but that's like 6 years.
No,
into it, isn't it? It's a long time.
I'm saying
isn't
it because it's like, I think it's like, it's a terrible thing.
Terrible.
And like, you're right, that kid's going to be like 6. Think of the bond. Like my eldest isn't even 6.
No.
And I'm thinking about the bond I've got with her. You imagine if you're just like, you weren't really bothered until they could do what you want to do. I just think it's selfish.
Yeah, it is.
But that's like another thing, I suppose.
It seems to me, once again, as a rookie, novice, not experienced, it seems almost backwards. It's like it doesn't feel like a healthy way at all.
I think you've got to go through the tough times to actually start enjoying each phase.
Yeah,
going forward with that particular child.
But also the child needs you.
Of course they do.
The child needs you not love, to be like attention. Bored or whatever.
It's looking to you, the parents.
All the time.
That's their thing.
And even if they can't communicate, you know, the screaming is communication, I guess. But you know, they're not sitting there talking, going, well, tomorrow, Dad, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. Obviously not, because they're like 2.
No.
You have to sacrifice that, I think. Like, as in, it's not really a sacrifice, I don't think, but like in some ways you can definitely call it. You do need to sacrifice parts of your life. Like what Dave said, your life is going to change, and you have to sacrifice it. You've made that adult decision to bring that child into this world, and it's your responsibility.
I think the word sacrifice is usually termed as a negative term.
Yes, it is, but it's not a negative.
It doesn't have to be a negative sacrifice, is it?
It's not. It just is a sacrifice, because realistically you can't be doing the things that you were doing pre-children, or at least the amount that you're doing.
No,
you know.
So adapting.
Yeah.
I think that's key.
That's key. Yeah,
isn't it?
Sacrificial adaptation.
Oof,
there you go.
Big words.
Pen it in.
Yeah. Have you got any other questions, man?
Let me see what I got here. Let me see. It's really enjoyable. It's really enjoyable, man.
The thing is, you've had a hell of an insight to this.
Yeah.
And like I said to you at the beginning, it was like way more than me. And I think even I spent 2 months with a family in Australia. Pete and Hayes, how you doing? And Morgan, who was 3 at the time.
Sweet name.
Yeah, it's cool.
Always like that name.
So I had quite a big insight into it then. So like 6 weeks to 8 weeks with this family in Melbourne. And even then, like, you know, I could go off and do my own thing when I wanted to. I wasn't doing any nighttime shifts.
Yeah.
And it was nothing. You see, like, you're with that kid pretty much every day, but then you can go off and do your own thing. When you're actually there the whole time, it's your responsibility. It's so different. Yeah.
Sweet, man.
Yeah.
The last sort of part of what I've written down, and we covered loads of this and just naturally.
Yeah.
Was like, have you got any tips and tricks? Because isn't it mad? Like,
pull out.
That question could
Take.
Sorry.
Goodness me. There's always one in there.
That is a good question.
Isn't it crazy though how you guys boys, you qualified.
Yeah. You know what?
You were fucking qualified.
I do know what I'll say.
Put a little bit of tips out there.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Working with your partner, your wife, your missus. Working with them, working together as a team and helping each other, and not just being that guy going, I can't handle this, I'm going down the pub, or whatever. Like I think that would be the main thing that's made it work between me and Nicola and the kids, is the teamwork between us to help each other and to help the kids. That'd be my number one piece of advice, I think.
Yeah, I suppose very similar, like working together as a team. It's sort of something we've done fairly recently. It's very difficult when they're really young, because it's almost impossible. But alternate the bedtimes. So, say for example, I'll do Monday night, Kat will do Tuesday night, then I'll do Wednesday, because at least then you can actually get some of your life back.
Yeah,
as in you can go and do your own thing, you can have your own time. That was a really good tip from another friend of mine.
I mean,
Tom.
yeah, and another, just using my imagination now, the child will, you know, see you both sort of an equal amount for bedtime. Like,
exactly.
You know.
Yeah. I think it's important as well, that is like doing your fair share of the bedtimes, I think helps with the bond as well.
Definitely.
And things and not just that, like all the bits in between, like nappies, bath times, book time, bedtime, and everything in between, just be doing your share of it, so you experience the whole thing. And like what you said, I think it does. It kind of like galvanizes the bond to you going through the sort of hard times and the nitty gritty in the trenches of it all. I think it just sort of makes it all stronger for everybody.
It does,
you know?
It's just being there. That's it. You just got to be there because they want you.
Yeah, of course.
It is it basically. And the split shifts definitely. But yeah, I think just work together.
Now I've got to ask because it's just quite comical. I think we probably talked about this when we were kids as well. Like, are you dreading those days where they're teenagers going out on the beers and you know what comes with all that?
Mate, I talk about it sometimes with one of my colleagues in work, and he's got 2 boys and I've got 2 girls, and we're sort of going to have different issues, let's say, when we grow up. And the kids grow up, because like with the boys you're going to have the sort of fighting maybe and all those stages, and maybe even like a night in the cell and that sort of aspect of it that we've all been through and stuff. And then you've got the girl side of it, which is slightly different as well. But then even the things you've got with the girls as well, you've kind of got it with the guys as well, because if you have a boy, he might knock someone up when he's 16 or so it's not just, I don't know. So I do talk about it in work and in a jovial sense sort of thing about what it's going to be like when they're 15, 16. There. You know what? It is far away, but I have thought about it because we talk about it in work and stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Again, very similar. Boys will be boys. We've all been there. We've got the t-shirts, I think, us 3.
Definitely.
And we've all been through it.
Yep.
I think I'm just... the way the world is now, the social media aspect really worries me.
Yeah,
that's a big concern.
It's a good call.
The pressures,
the pressures,
to be perfect.
Cyberbullying as well, and all that horrible stuff.
All that stuff that concerns me. Drugs,
it makes me
alcohol,
so
all that sort of thing. You know, I want to teach them as much knowledge as I have, so they can take a proper decision if it ever comes their way.
Yeah,
and try and teach them as well as I can. Or as we can.
Information, isn't it?
This is it.
You're just doing your best, kind of like what we mentioned in another podcast. Like maybe tweaking it a little bit, even though all of our parents have obviously done like a really good job. You kind of just do your best. Maybe tweak a couple of things here and there, and kind of do your best for it.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
I'm depleted.
I'm
free room.
I think that went really well.
No, I think
I'm really pleased with that.
The only thing I was trying to think about is when Kim came to us and she asked about that particular one, I was trying to gauge sort of like because it's quite like it's quite an open subject for interpretation, isn't it? So I hope we've answered at least some of the questions that Kim sort of was talking to us about, doing a podcast about being a dad, if you know what I mean. Because we kind of have covered a lot of it, but it is. I think it is different being a dad today than it was in my dad's generation. It's weird, isn't it? And the sort of dual income
generation
thing
before that.
Yeah. I'd say we're no experts. We're just doing the best that we can. And
exactly.
It's on our experiences that we're sort of.
I haven't got all the answers.
But you're total experts compared to me. I got 0. No experience.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I'm still on the other dimension.
Yeah. Me and Dave were there 6 years ago. Or, 6 years ago.
I think that was incredible when you said you can't remember what that's like.
I literally can't.
I can't.
Because you get the parent guilt when you're not with them as well.
Huge.
Oh, dude.
I forgot to even mention that. Just real
parent
quickly
guilt,
on that one.
what's that?
Oh, mate, huge parent guilt. Even if you're like, I don't know, a good example is recently me and Nicola went away, right? So sort of for my 40th, it was a few days before, but it was essentially for my 40th. And this is just a small example of it. So Cora's like 5.5. And Nicola has never spent more than one night away from either of them ever in 5.5 years. And we went for 2 nights. So that's the longest that both of us have been away from.
Double the amount of time.
The girls. Yeah, I've been away for a little bit longer individually, but for Nicola, she just had that one night. So it wasn't even 24 hours she'd been away from both of those girls. And even then, as much as we needed that break, and I never judge anybody for going away on their own. You need it and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it for any of those reasons. I think you need your breaks and it's important and things like that. And also it's quite important for, you to feel like a couple again and not just mum and dad as well. That's like a different aspect to it. But even in those 2 days, as much as we needed those 2 days, the amount we thought about the kids and spoke about those kids within that 48-hour period is absolutely insane. Yeah. Like when I went to that Brecon Hills burger place, probably like 90% of that conversation was about the kids when we were having that date night or whatever you want to call it. But I'm not saying it a bad thing. It's an amazing thing because they just totally consume your life, but in the most amazing way. Yeah. You're not the same after it at all. You're not the same person after it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just when you're not with them, that's all you think about as well.
Yeah, the parent guilt is a real sort of thing now.
Oh, what a wave!
Yeah.
Happy boys?
Very happy. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
Cool. Thank you very much.